The Phoenix Suns are in the most difficult spot to climb out of, as they're in the second apron restrictions, have an untradeable contract, and basically have to trade one of their superstars to even have any legroom to really maneuver this off season. We're going to be looking at the Phoenix Suns and going over why I personally think it is a difficult spot to be in at this very moment. Not is the doomsday scenario that everyone is pinning on this franchise, as I do believe in a couple seasons, if they do hit the right motives, could be able to get out of this whole hellhole that they are in. So welcome back to Swish City. I am Bruce Veliz, and in today's episode, we're going to be looking at the Phoenix Suns, giving my off-season breakdown, looking at players that I think could be traded from the team, looking at what I think could be drafted from the team, and also looking at some potential free agents the Suns could go out and pursue as well this off-season. We're going to be doing this for every single team, so if you are a Suns fan, let me know down below in the comment section if I hit the team right or if I hit the team wrong. And if you do enjoy the content that we do put on this channel, make sure to check out the other videos because there are a plethora of other teams that we've already explored in. This is the 15th episode, so we're hitting the halfway point. So if the team that you are interested in, or if you are interested in this type of series, I guarantee there are other videos talking about other teams, so definitely check those out in the playlist. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's get into the news today. Let's get into it. So like I mentioned, we're going to be discussing the Phoenix Suns, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, a little bit of rocky roads for this team and how they are able to get out of this situation, but I think a lot of the outside blinding lights make it more dreary and more weary for more people to believe. We want to look at the standings this year. We all know the highest, most paid expensive roster in the NBA fell short, dealing with injuries after a stellar 8-1 season, finished off 36-46, finishing 11th. And one thing about the Phoenix Suns is they have no draft capital, right? So even with this team really trying to play together with Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker, there was no need to tank. There was no need to bottom out. And with that case, that's why they tried to get Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline. Failed to do so because they have an untradeable contract in Bradley Beal, which we'll get into in a little bit later. But minus all that fact, the Phoenix Suns were the one team in the NBA that did not have a lottery pick and did not have a playoff team. And that is right, ladies and gentlemen. The Phoenix Suns ultimately do not have their first round pick. It is with the Houston Rockets, and that's why we brought them up earlier when we talked about some offseason previews, because they have the 10th overall pick from Houston. The Suns have two draft picks this year, the 55th pick, which is their own, and the 29th pick at this very moment, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers pick that they acquired from trading away their 2031 first and their only first round pick to get 3 additional first in 25, 27, and 29, basically getting the Cavaliers basically first round picks in doing so to try to move off of Bradley Beal's contract. Like I mentioned, it did not go through, and the Suns now have a lot of questions coming into play. $218 million on the salary books already over the second apron limit, and with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys on the roster, that is not key. If you look at their free agents, they have an abundance of them, and key guys, or not key guys, but key things that could help the Phoenix Suns is waiving Cody Martin and waiving Vasilije Micić. If the Suns are able to do that, that allows them to cut that $16 million and drop below in the first apron, allowing them to have a mid-level exception, allowing them to take more back salary in trades, and also allowing them to aggregate salaries, which makes it a lot easier for the Suns to pursue trades for some of these stars that haven't really been fitting. Guys looking at Bradley Beal. Maybe if they can't trade a Bradley Beal, a Kevin Durant, or even other players on this roster as well. So we're going to dive in and we're going to explore all of that here. Now, before we start off and discuss any trades, I do want to state that Devin Booker is not listed on this list because the Phoenix Suns have made it known that they are not going away with Devin Booker. Devin Booker just was a part of the Suns head coaching hire where they just hired head coach Jordan Ott to replace Mike Budenholzer, and Devin Booker had a stamp of approval on that decision. Devin Booker wants to remain in Phoenix. Phoenix wants to remain with Devin Booker. So there will be no Devin Booker trades, no Devin Booker trade proposals, because it is not happening this offseason. So the first player we're going to discuss is Kevin Durant, and all signs are pointing that Durant and the Suns are going to be working on a move off of this relationship, all due to the fact that, once again, the Suns have an untradeable contract in Bradley Beal, who makes $50 million and is on a no-trade clause. And basically, if the Suns wanted to trade him for pennies to trade him to any team, Brooklyn, Utah, whatever, he can just say, no, I'm not going there. So any team that they want to trade him to then has to have value the Suns want back, and those teams aren't willing to take on Bradley Beal's contract because they know of his inconsistencies and his injuries and him not being worth $50 million. But not only just that, they don't want to help out the Phoenix Suns and give them anything that they want in return. Everyone feels Bradley Beal's not worth that $50 million contract. Now, if he was on a $25 million, maybe that's the case. But that's where the sad part comes here for Kevin Durant, because they have that $50 million untradeable contract. They can't move off of a guy in Kevin Durant, or they can't keep a guy in Kevin Durant. They have to move off of him to at least lower some salary, get some bodies in, because if they waive those two players that I mentioned in Micic and Martin, now they only have 8 guys under roster. So they definitely need to trade Kevin Durant for 2-3 potential roster spots just to kind of fill in the holes, really identify what the Suns team can really figure out and, I guess, get back as quality role players to put around Booker and set the new direction for what this team is heading in now. There have been a lot of teams linked to Kevin Durant, obviously, through the last coming weeks, and we'll see where he ultimately does end up. I know Houston, San Antonio, Miami, not Memphis, Minnesota, New York have all, and even the Clippers have been have been mentioned as a sneaky team to watch out for Kevin Durant. But definitely keep your eyes on him. Rumors and reports are saying that he'll be traded by the deadline, and or the draft, and the draft is less than 20 days away. So for Suns fans or, NBA fans just in general, this may be the first big domino to fall on the trade market, and we may see it sooner than we think. Like I mentioned, alongside Durant, the Suns will look to move off Bradley Beal and would love to move off of him. But once I mentioned, the no trade clause is there, so we can basically say, no, I'm not going to Utah, or no, I'm not going to Brooklyn for any contracts that can really help you out. And B, there's no physical way for him, no team that is trading for him is going to give any value back to the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are really plagued with making this move for Bradley Beal, and now we're stuck with the repercussions of it. Now, the Suns can waive and stretch Bradley Beal, and that has been a main case, as Suns insider John Gambadoro has kind of let everyone know in the Suns atmosphere and range that Bradley Beal and the Suns do not want Bradley Beal back. But it's going to be hard because the Suns would have to waive and stretch Bradley Beal. They cannot outright just buy him out because they waived and stretched guys Nazir Little and EJ Liddell last season. And with this new second apron, there's salary cap restrictions on how much money you can really buy out in stretch and waive in a season. The max limit is 50% of your salary cap, which would be around $25 million. And for the Suns to fully buy out and stretch out Bradley Beal's $110 million deal that he has on the last 2 seasons, they would be going over that. The minimum that Bradley Beal can, or the maximum Bradley Beal can take in a waive and stretch and waive is $97 million, leaving $13 million on the table, where he would hopefully get that $13 million or, remaining money that is available out there in the open market would then help the Suns just, cut away less money in a buyout. Ultimately, though, that's still a pain for the Phoenix Suns, as with trying to rebuild around Devin Booker and still trying to get to a promise mark, the Suns will have a $19 to $23 million hold on their roster with no player being on there, really hindering their ability to add or, stay under the first or second apron, because they are, once again, paying $20 million to a player that is just not on the roster. Now, Bradley Beal could still be brought back to Phoenix, as that has not been ruled out of the question yet, but as fans would not like to see Bradley Beal on this team due to his injuries, and obviously due to the fact that he just hasn't been reliable. I don't know if it's the best move for the organization to do so, but I do think for the Phoenix Suns as a franchise, keeping a guy like Bradley Beal once again this season, or at least halfway through the season, is the smart move. You don't want to ostracize yourself, put yourself in a place where you have a $20 million hold on the books, right? Keeping a guy like Bradley Beal, putting him at that backup point guard position, specifically when you do need one, could be that key piece. And who knows, maybe he's able to build up his value to where at the trade deadline a team is actually inquired to trading for him for a bad contract, and with the Suns being a little bit flexible, being in the first apron, they're able to do so. Or who knows, maybe at the end of next offseason, it's a little bit easier for the Suns to stretch and waive Bradley Beal, or for a team to actually want Bradley Beal on a 1-year deal, making it better for the Phoenix Suns. Lots of things to dive in with Bradley Beal. Once again, another name to keep an eye on with this Suns team. And then the last 2 possible trade targets that I could see are Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. Once again, Grayson Allen, similar to Jusuf Nurkic, makes the most amount of money besides the big 3, and that's why Jusuf Nurkic was traded last season to get off some salary restraints. And I think a guy like Grayson Allen could be used to be as the same as well. Grayson Allen last year didn't really play the best, deal with some injuries, obviously played in a new role coming off the bench compared to the year previous, where he was in the starting lineup and was the best 3-point shooter. Once again, still a solid 3-point shooting wing, has a lot of value across the league as well, as someone that's played in a bunch of organizations and has helped some winning basketball. But the problem here with Phoenix is they have Booker, potentially having Beal, maybe even Colin Gillespie brought back. Who knows if they're going to bring back Tyus Jones, Monte Morris. They still need a point guard. There are just too many guards in this rotation, and a guy like Grayson Allen would just make sense to benefit another team, while the Suns can go out and get another role, a defensive wing, a center, something that they do need at that value of $16 million as a tradable contract. Royce O'Neal, kind of very similar. Personally, if they had to decide between keeping the two, I would keep Royce O'Neal. Still fills in that veteran wing role that you still would virtually need. 3-and-D guy, obviously a little bit slower on the defensive side and a little bit streakier on the offensive, but is still a solid two-way player. Once again, though, his contract is $10 million, so again, a tradable asset for Phoenix to use to go and fill and plug in a hole that they do need on this roster at the point guard or at the center position, and that's why these two guys I would keep an eye on, because they can go out and be used by Phoenix to go and nab new roles they do need, once again, to fill out this roster, to bring some new culture, identity, success to Phoenix. But also these guys could be combined together to go out and get a big name, or not a big name, but a pretty solid contract in around $27 million for the Suns to bring back a solid quality starter as well. So those guys I think the Phoenix Suns could trade. Like I mentioned, not moving off of Booker, most likely not moving off of Ryan Dunn or Oso Ighodaro. They're two rookies either. And then we're going to get into the draft. Like I mentioned, Suns 29th overall pick in the NBA draft this season. I have a couple of guys that I think could really make an impact for this team here, and they all similarly play one position, and that is, once again, the center position. Two of them play the center position, One of them being Ryan Kalkbrenner, someone who 7'2", has that size, can shoot the ball at a decent clip as well. Really solid rebounder, interior paint defender, low post player, can bring a lot for Phoenix that they are virtually missing at the center position. Once again, Nick Richards under roster, the only 7-footer that they do have. Kalkbrenner coming at 7'1", 7'2", would stand past that. Only problem with Kalkbrenner, a little bit slower compared to some of these other bigs across the league. Obviously, it's 7'2", big frame, big body. It's going to take a while for him to get up the court. But as we've seen with taller guys like Zach Edey, Luke Cornett, they can fit in the league. And in these type of similar roles of a rim deterrent, a lob threat, someone that's just going to be a hard worker on the margins, a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner really fits what Phoenix could really identify and use at the center position. A little bit different compared to that is Maxime Reynaud, who is a little bit higher projected than a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner. Kalkbrenner falls around the late first round, early second. A guy like Maxime Reynaud could be seen maybe in the early 20s, so maybe out of Phoenix Suns range. But once again, 7-foot, solid low post scorer, solid offensive hub big, can score and shoot the lights out of the ball. And once again, only downfall with the guy Maxime Reynaud, played at Stanford, a little bit of smaller competition, but at the NBA Combine, when he was playing up against top-tier talent in the draft, was able to stand out and be one of those big standouts, putting up 20 points as well. So I think a guy like Maxime Reynaud really got that hype and buzz from the Combine, and who knows if that sticks with him going into the draft process. I'm guaranteeing it does, but a guy like him as well could really help out the Suns at that center position with another big that could be a young player, or not a young player, but someone that could come in as a 22-year-old and really help the impact of winning. Similar to Ryan Kalkbrenner, he is 23 and could really, really change the course for Phoenix, as well as a backup big. And then looking at the guard position, I know a lot of people might be a little bit weary of this, but Walter Clayton Jr., once again, projected to go around where the Phoenix Suns are projected in that late first round. He showed at Florida that he is a game changer, a game winner, and is ready for the big-time moments, taking those big-time shots. And he is that clutch gene guy that the Suns could go out and put alongside a guy in Devin Booker to be an offensive playmaker around him, but not only just that, a big-time shot maker and a solid distributor for this Phoenix Suns team. The Suns, once again, try to do that with Tyus Jones. It did not work. Brought in Monte Morris. He looked pretty solid, but wasn't given the role that he was really needed to really expand his game for the Phoenix Suns. And then Colin Gillespie was that diamond in the rough on the two-way contract. Maybe a guy like Walter Clayton Jr., they feel a little bit more as NBA ready, can take that step for them and either being the starting point guard of the future, but at least first a potential backup point guard to give some really quality minutes as a scorer and shot creator for the Phoenix Suns. And then when looking at free agency, once again, if the Suns do waive Cody Martin and Vasilij Micic, they drop below in the first apron, all depending on what they do with the contracts of Kevin Durant, Royce O'Neal, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen. I could see the Suns having a little bit of a revamped roster, some different roles to complement Booker and some different styles, and that ultimately will play how they evaluate their free agency. Once again, I do still see them bringing back Nick Richards on a non-guaranteed deal of $5 million, even if he is a backup big. When you're a team in these restrictions, you got to take any contract for the best value, and a guy like Richards provides you that at $5 million. Definitely well worth his value as a backup center, but maybe identifying some other centers in the free agency, looking at some guys maybe like a Brook Lopez, a Clint Capella, maybe a Steven Adams, a Sandro Mamukelashvili on the low, could be a guy that the Suns do look at. When looking at point guards, maybe a Chris Paul, maybe a Dennis Schroeder, maybe a Malcolm Brogdon is something that the Phoenix Suns are enticing. On the wing market, there's not a lot of really great wings that the Suns could go out and address to bring into this squad, but I do feel that once again, on the trade market, looking to move a Kevin Durant or maybe a Royce O'Neal or even a Grayson Allen, that's where you look to add at the wing department to really bolster this team. But like I said, the Phoenix Suns in a tough spot, in a tough predicament here this offseason, but I don't think it's this doomsday scenario that everyone is really putting forward them. Like I said, if Devin Booker and this squad can kind of get out of these salary cap implications, kind of reset the roster, retool it just a little bit, right? So some expiring contracts, freeing up some money down the line for Devin Booker to still be able to continue, because we saw at the end of the season, when Durant, when Beal went down, Booker can still be that offensive engine and can still be that dominating player for the Phoenix Suns, and we all know that he can continue to do this for the next couple of seasons. So for the Phoenix Suns, using a player like Devin Booker, getting maybe some contracts that kind of fit now, or some older veterans or some guys on some lower scale deals is the right move. But then once you have some of these younger talents or younger pieces or even potential draft picks as well, you use that to go out and get another star to put alongside Booker down the line, or even use those picks or talents to develop guys that can really fit and tailor Booker around, so you can have multiple options to be able to compete in this Western Conference. We all know the West is getting stronger and stronger, and that's where a lot of people would say, Phoenix, turn around, what are you doing? But I'm not complaining. Phoenix sticking this middle path and still trying to win. They still do have that path with that superstar and should not be giving it all away. Specifically, when a guy like Devin Booker was in the trenches with the Phoenix Suns, knows what it's like to be like that, and brought them out of their misery of 10 years of being in the dumps post Steve Nash. This is the guy you do not trade away, specifically if he wants to be in Phoenix. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys ultimately think on the Phoenix Suns. Was I right on their predictions? Was I wrong on their predictions? What would you ultimately do if you were Brian Gregory in the front office of the Phoenix Suns? Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking out these videos. We have them going up every single day, looking at some offseason breakdowns. So once again, if you guys are interested, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts. I hope to catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everyone.